Peace, everyone. How are you? Welcome to another beautiful, magical moment in time. Please excuse the noise in the background. I am doing some last-minute Christmas shopping with my Vibe Tribe down the street from my house. So I am like here with my girls, but I wanted to chime in and go ahead and bring in the first person that is to speak for today's class and see who that is and just ask everyone a question. Who's actually speaking today? Do we know who that is?
I am Erica.
Hi, Erica, honey. Hold on. I'm just going to make a quick announcement and then we can pull you in from there, okay? Okay, so I just want to know from everyone if on Christmas, that's tomorrow, right? Do you guys want to, because this is my first time actually doing a winter solstice during Christmas. So I was thinking we could do one or two things. We can actually proceed with class tomorrow, because actually tomorrow is my day for me to share with everyone. We can proceed with class tomorrow, or we can have Christmas Day off, and then what we'll do is we'll proceed because we're going to the 1st of January anyways. So if we go to the 1st of January, then we might as well go to the 2nd of January to make up for today. And then on that Friday, let me look at the calendar. I think that's Friday the 4th. Hold on, I'm looking at my calendar. That's the actual day.
Nubian, can I say something really quick?
Yes, honey.
I was supposed to present along with Monet tomorrow.
Oh, you are? Okay. That's on Christmas Day?
Yeah,
okay.
But I mean, if you want to change it up, you can. But I was just letting you know that myself and Monet, we were doing tomorrow.
Okay, so do you guys want to take a vote? Does everyone want to have the day like pushed to, I guess, the day behind that? That would be like however this ends. So say we go to like the 26th or the 27th, you would actually take over that date versus Christmas Day. But it's up to all of you. If you want to take a vote, we can all take a vote and see if you guys want to actually do Christmas Day or if you guys want the day off. It doesn't matter to me. It's fine with me either way, but it's up to you. So if you don't mind, if everyone can post inside of the general box, if you want off or on, just put off or on so that way we'll be able to know how we can take this vote and then how we can proceed from there. Yeah, just put off for want Christmas off and then on for on. Yeah, off, okay, on, okay. On, okay. On, 3 ons, okay. On, 4 ons, okay. On, okay. Look at you little soldiers. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so it let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5. That's 5 out of 2. So we'll be on. So we'll be here, everyone. So I was just trying to give you that option if you wanted that option to have the Christmas Day off. So we'll do Christmas Day. All Christmas will do schedule as normal, and then on that Friday night will be the day that we all come back. So say for example we'll go until the 1st. Let's see, the 1st. Let me see. Yeah, we'll go to the 1st, which will be Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be our last day, and then we're going to have 2 days off, actually those 3 days off, and then on Friday the 4th we're going to come back on here again, and that's going to be at night. Yeah, that's going to be, okay, so everyone's going to be on. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to, yes, 11, 11, and 12, 12 it is. That's those gateways, right? Okay, so we're going to do the class. On Friday night, we're going to actually meet on here at, what time is that Friday night? I believe that is 8 o'clock Friday night. Yeah, Friday night at 8 p.m. we'll meet on here, but it won't be on here. It's going to be an actual conference call that I'm going to get everyone the number to, and that's when you call in to the conference call that day, and everyone's going to be to where we can all hear each other. And then I'm going to have you on a loudspeaker that day to be on Nubian News, and then you're going to talk about your experience in the class, and then that will actually be the last night of the class. We'll conclude it from there. And yes, we're on for Christmas. We are going to do tomorrow. Yes. It's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pretty much 8 ons. No days are off. We're just going to proceed with the regular schedule. So we're going to go all the way until January the 1st. That will be our last day. So we will actually we'll go through New Year's Eve and everything, and we're going to conclude class on the night of January the 1st. Yes. No, we're on. Yeah, January 1st is the last day. Yeah, the conference call is January the 4th. That's Friday at 8 p.m., and I'll put all the information in the announcement section. And then what you can do is, just you come on that day. I believe everyone has, if I'm not mistaken, you have, I think I forgot how many, I gotta look at my time schedule to see how many minutes. I think it's anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes to talk, to share your experience. And then, even if you want to use that time to give a message, so the whole point of it is to share your experience here, and then also you're using that as your platform to share with others around the world, how your life has been impacted anyway, good or bad. I told you it's live. I'm not going to block nobody or kick you out or boot you out if you say I'm shady and I need help and, throw me to the wolves. I want total honesty, and I just want you to be able to reach others out there who do not have the capacity that you had to come into a portal like this to gain the tools that you have gained, okay? And you never know, it's going to touch someone's life and help heal someone, and you have the absolutely platform to do that, okay? So with that being said, Erica, I'm going to go ahead and call you for it, and then we're going to proceed tonight with the person that's going to do it tonight. Please forgive me for saying the person that's going to do it today, the person that's going to do it tonight. I literally cannot find that list. I don't know what that's about, but it's all good. So, yes, Erica, your turn, hon. Okay, Geole. Geole's tonight. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm actually here at work. I didn't bring my headphones. Hold the phone up to my... I don't know, for some reason, it's kind of... The volume seems low, like even though I turn it up to the best. I want to share with you some of the info I've learned since I've been back in Arizona, attending certain certain ceremonial events that my family has had to pay attention to a lot of the stories. And my culture, or my ancestors, they tell certain stories during the time. Mainly in August, when you're stories of the creation stories. It's like a time where the winter is the season's really changing. Once the snow first hits the ground, there's a ceremony called from the Yebichays, and they kind of bring in the winter, is what I've been told. So during this winter, certain stories are shared, are only shared, and it's actually a really interesting time because it's a lot of dark. The sun goes down a lot later. It's a time of hibernation for a lot of animals. It's a time for resting. It's also a time that there's death. Things come to an end. A lot of this information is really much more in depth. I'm basically just giving more of a basic understanding to it. But how the story goes is that there was 4 worlds. Right now we're living in the 4th world. There's first world, second world, third world, and each of them had certain challenges. Not a lot of people lived within the first, second, and third world. It wasn't until the 4th world when we started to create some type of order with the seasons, like the cycles, moon cycles, and Mother Earth, the sun, the moon, the animals, the insects, and the people were all given certain laws and rules they have to follow or really live for how we do now. And during this time of like synchronous, they connected animals to the moon. So there's a lot of night animals. There's animals that are rolling, and so they're animals that during, and then they also that are both. They can be out during the day, during the night, and for us, that's the coyote. The coyote, the messenger, and somebody that warns us if something bad's gonna happen, depending on that they're running in. So because and it's headed north, and no matter death might occur. East, it might be that's coming your way. But in that way. So creation created the seasons, and seasons for us, our new year begins in February. It was, they call February as baby eagle. Baby eagle. So, and also the creation story, first woman, she was born in February. February is spring. It's the start of spring. Has like newness, new beginnings, new sprouts, and stuff will start to grow, or I guess sprout. It's a time to conceive, and then you head into the summer, and summertime for we call it first woman, we call her. This is her cycle. She kind of created the cycles where she was born spring, we had her in the summer, and during the summer, things start to bloom. Has this since plants are starting to blossom in ways, and then to the fall where she has kids, and as the plants start to bloom, and it's maturity, and then where things start to leave this world, old age, people's hair start to turn white, turn white, the plants start to die, or the fruit starts to ripen. It's also a time that you sleep. And one of the elders would say, to each other, Nesta means like you're becoming fully ripened, kind of compare you to a fruit, gets to it. That's an elder one. Not probably, but for them to tell how far in the life cycle they are, and how sensitive they are to people touching them. And then they also create a moon, and the first moon, or the new moon, beginning of the month, and I know calendar we have it like on the new moon starts 7th or 8th, but 7th or 8th, 9th, 10th, whenever the new moon starts, that's really the beginning of the new month, and they go on. But we are but I don't think anyone speaks 13 moons, and whichever the 13th moon lands on, it could be late or it could be in the summertime. That gives the elders indicator that it might be a long cold winter, or it might be a long. So elders are able to keep track of this matter, keep right, depending on what kind of is around. Say like at a new moon, say like it's cold. Okay, so whole month is probably good. Or if it's hot or warm in the morning, they have that indicator to know that whole month is going to be, and this would help them prepare for winter or really hot as well.
I'm sorry, Erica. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're breaking up really bad and we can't hear you.
Yeah. I actually don't have like on Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is like, sorry about that. And I have to hold my phone against the ear, so I can't really check for the messages. But thank you for letting me know. Hear me now? Is it still breaking out? Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for letting me know. The 13 moons, and one thing I found how the woman's actually connected to the moon. We follow the moon as like the reproductive system, and our menstrual cycles also connected to cycle. For myself, I've noticed that more often is to know like when the moon's coming is kind of when I know I'll get my menstrual period. As I my birth and the sun energy as far as their reproductive like system and such. I did some recent equinox and during equinox. Can you guys still hear me or no?
It's still pretty choppy.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can
Come in. Y'all know
step in a different area.
I'm in class.
How about now? Is that better? Hello?
It's still not there, Erica.
Okay, let me try walking in the hallway. Now. Is it better?
When you say a word, it's okay, but then when you start talking continuously, then the choppiness starts.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is this better? Can you guys?
For now, yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to move around to see if I get better. Okay. So as I mentioned, the moon, the woman is to the moon energy as far as their reproductive system goes and menstrual cycle. I've noticed with my own menstrual cycle, I started to notice with my menstrual cycle, like, you know, my menstrual period would come, and I guess that wasn't, back then that was like an indicator that, the women were, fertile, not fertile, when was a good time to have children. As far as the men goes, they're more connected to the sun in that matter. I might just back up a little since I was choppy earlier. I don't know if you've heard me speak about the 13th moon. In the for our calendar year, we have 13 moons. And each moon, the 13th moon, wherever the 13th moon lands, will kind of give you an indicator as far as in wintertime, you'll have a longer winter, or if it lands in the summertime, you'll have a longer summer. And these were ways that just were able to kind of gauge the weather and be able to plan. So if they knew the 13th moon was going to land in the winter, indicator on how to prep for the winter, like store away more food, more water, and same with the summertime. Just give them a heads up. So my ancestors really used the moon. The moon cycles were very key to their way of living, especially when you wake up, when you go out to pray during the new moon, early in the morning. Like the weather, it is, even if it's cold, then that would let them know that the whole month would be probably going to be cold. Or if it's hot, it'll let you know that the month is probably to. And back then, a lot of their ceremonies were to protect them against the seasons. It wasn't so much to protect them towards other people. It was more, protection towards whatever harsh winter or drought that's to come. And there's ways that you can use these ceremonies, and depending on what part of the moon you want to, if it's like a new moon, you would want to do like a blessing way, kind of rejuvenation, like what they call as a wash up. You're kind of, it's like a certain positive cleanse in a way. If you're going to have a ceremony during the full moon, then you're more protecting, and you're wanting to get rid of any negativity that's not good for you. So they use the moons for certain ceremonial purposes. And then in the time of the eclipse, it's a time that we're in reverence. We don't go outside. We don't eat. We don't sleep. We are in harmony. We think positive thoughts, but it's a way for us to give back to Mother Earth and kind of giving her thanks by not doing anything and just sitting still the entire time. And when there's like a new moon, and as the new moon starts to form, depending on like how the crescent of the moon looks, say if it's like a U shape for some, that lets the elders know that there'll be snow coming. If the crescent's like slanted like a C-ish, as it's forming into the moon, it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. Coldness is coming, some type of harsh weather. And if there's a rainbow around the sun, that also gives you an indicator that it's going to be extremely cold. And these were ways that my elders were able to really gauge weather. Back then they didn't have any electricity, but this is how they were so much connected to the earth in that way. What else? Since I was choppy earlier, I'm just going to go through the seasons again. When spring season occurs, our spring season occurs in February. That's the beginning of our new year. And each season has its own specific energy and vibe to it. So for spring, it would be a time of, baby lambs are born. A lot of baby animals are born. Plants, you see their first sprout come out from the ground. But in the summertime, the plants start to blossom. Children become adolescents. And it's a time of puberty, I guess, at that age where it has this fiery vibration. And then the fall, it's more of a time of maturity, having kids, married. Plants start to I guess really, well, I don't say really ripen, but the leaves start to change color. And in the wintertime is when, people start to leave the world. Elders, the plants start to wilt and die. It's also a big time of death. Death for us. And yeah, I think that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions. This was very, I want to say basic. It goes much more in depth that I'm still learning about. Our cycles and our seasons and what it really means. But these are some of the things I've learned since I've moved back to Arizona. Thank you.
Great job, Erica. It was a little choppy there for a second. I was like, wait, is this me or is this Erica? But from what I heard, you did an excellent job. And does anyone have any questions or comments for Erica?
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Geole.
Oh, I just wanted to know who. I'm sorry, we missed. Who'd you say your ancestors or your tribe was?
Dene. Navajo.
You said Navajo?
Yeah.
Okay.
The real name is Dene.
Okay, thank you.
I want clarity. I don't know if I heard you correctly. Did you say at one point, because you said there weren't that many people until the fourth world? Did I hear that part right?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other part is, can you help me understand? I probably didn't hear you right. Did you say you guys didn't used to eat? No,
this was during the eclipse season. We didn't we don't eat around that time during the eclipse.
I knew I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So is it out of like almost like fasting?
Yes, that's our version of fasting. During the time this past summer, it was pretty intense. I feel like last year was a lot of eclipses that I haven't noticed in the past, I would say 10 years of my life. So a lot of these old teachings really started to come up again, because we did have a massive, I think, eclipse in January and then also in July. But yeah. One other thing I find interesting is that right now we're living in the fourth world, and you know, in the spiritual community, you know, they talk about ascending to the fifth dimension, you know, and that's something I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm assuming that we're gonna eventually ascend into the fifth dimension as well, because when I mentioned the fourth worlds, there are third world, fourth worlds, like each world we technically ascended from, and it wasn't until the fourth worlds when we law and order with Mother Nature and the animals and plants and insects, and also with people, since before that there wasn't any able for anyone to live, maybe except the animals and insects, but not for a human being. So a lot of the teachings come from what is past our own like law and order and how we're supposed to live on this earth. But I really just wanted to harp on the seasons and how you would be able to tell, you know, if you don't have, you know, technology, or if you don't have, you know, Google to check the weather. But I found it really interesting when I wake up, and you can tell. For us, our early morning is when there's a small beam of light that sunrise, because sunrise starts to turn yellow, but it's when you have that little white lining, like a white lining, and that's when they say is like the most purest time to pray. The air is crisp, and you're able to take in a lot of the energy. And then once the sun comes up, they say just even throughout the day the energy changes. But when you're able to get up at that morning, when you see that little white sunlight, you know, start to rise, is like, that's the perfect time. That's when you can receive a lot of gifts from your ancestors when you pray.
And what time is that usually? Do you know?
It varies. Since the time change, like I was getting up and going to work. I leave by like 7, or usually. But before the time changed, I was up before the sun was up. So when I would like drive to work, I'm on Southwest time, but I could like see the sunrise coming. So it was really nice. Now it's like the sun's up by 7, obviously, here. It varies.
Okay. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you, Erica.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Erica?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to tell you thank you, because I didn't know all of that information that you shared. I mean, I knew about like the moon and, you know, menstrual cycles, but I didn't know, like I could never tell like I think you were speaking like about how your ancestors could tell when it was certain times of the day or like the seasons. So I never knew any of that stuff. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, this actually goes much more in depth, and it's you only really speak about it for some reason during the winter time. But of course, I'm more than happy to share with you guys. Give me another year. Another year, I'll have this. I have much more stories to give you.
I have a question.
Sure.
With the men and the sun, with the women, it was the moon cycle, right? Mm-hmm. But with the men and the sun, how does that relate? How do they know, like, they are at their peak to make babies and that kind of stuff?
Well, as I mentioned, I notice I get my menstrual period around the full moon. So that's how they know, like, okay, I'm going to get my period. And then I want to say at the beginning of the new moon, I want to say, like, I'm actually not sure, actually. I just know that it's reproductive, and I want to say around the full moon is where you would be most fertile, but don't quote me on that. There's a lot of information that I was given, and I've been trying to sort through them. I don't remember off the top of my head, like, when exactly in the moon cycle you're most fertile.
That's interesting. I'm going to look more into that. Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, like, when I first did the Nubian, I feel like she really activated, like, some of this information about the moons, following the moons, and, you know, releasing and, you know, writing your letter and stuff. And, you know, I was like, this sounds so familiar. Like, I think I've heard this. I'm like calling my family, asking them questions. And, you know, since I moved back, I'm like, okay, like, you know, I've already, you know, I've heard this in the spiritual community, you know, from different backgrounds, and, you know, what's ours. So that's what really sparked my interest and learning more about this stuff. But yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Beautiful job, Erica. Beautiful job, Erica. Please forgive me because I just started recording you like 5 minutes ago. So hopefully someone here has the recording of today that you can share with me so I can add it to the forum for everyone to hear. I don't know, maybe Dwicky, maybe do you have it? Or anyone that was able to record today?
I got it.
Thank you, Geole. Perfect. So then we'll get that and then share it to the forum. And it was very important what you said today. Please forgive me for being moving about. But that's okay. Hopi, Apache, and Cherokee is my native bloodline. We are in the time right now where there's a lot of prophecies that came about from the native traditions that were very vital to the times, because many were not aware that, yes, the Nomos came to Earth from star Sirius A, star Sirius B, and star Sirius C, and they share the knowledge with the Dogons. And the Dogons begin to spread the message all over the world about different types of mind-blowing information that people in a country or a continent as small as Scotland and Wales end up in a small little place like that, use that information to take over planet Earth with. But there were already the natives that were here, which is the Native Americans, the indigenous aboriginals of the planet. And this is where I get the information from to share with each and every one of you, to tap into the timelines of the ancients. And what Erica was sharing with you was basically a part of not just our history, but information that actually set in stone and set in place to be the body clock of the entire world's pendulum. Did you hear what I just said? Set in stone, set in place to be the world's entire body clock for the world's entire pendulum, which means that every single thing that she was talking about was not only right on point, but very vital to the times that we're in, because this is where clocks comes from. This is where time, they begin to try to watch the time and set time and space. This is where the moon cycles came in, where our ancestors would watch the moon. They knew to watch the planetary alignments. And this is why you hear things like, if there's a blood moon, the whole entire internet will be saying, okay, a blood moon's coming, everyone, watch out, there's a blood moon, make sure that you're home. Or there's a black moon that's here. The black moon is actually the new moon. If you notice, you don't see the new moon in the sky. That's Lilith. That's the black moon is called Lilith. And that's why you never see it, because it's a new moon. And you only see a full moon. And then the cycles of the planetary alignments. Right now we have Uranus and Mercury and Neptune all in alignment with Pluto, which is the first time that we have had this alignment since, I believe, 1920. And that's when some of the most major disasters have transpired on planet Earth. So now we're in that alignment again. So our ancestors knew to watch the stars, to watch the planets, to watch the skies. And this information stems back from so long that even the Hopi prophecy, I'm going to put a link inside of I'll put it inside of the announcement section. And if we have a chance, I'll touch more on this and the importance of you watching the native prophecies of what's happening on planet Earth. Now, there's the Hopi prophecy of the red and the blue Kachina, which is a red and a blue star, which were basically, I'm going to give you, it was basically some shamanistic teachings, shamanistic practices from the natives that the people who are basically scientists, this is where they get their information from, to be able to watch the planets, watch the stars. So they know what's coming into the planet Earth. They know what's about to shift. They know when the winds are about to shift, literally by watching the stars. There's really no such thing as time in the spiritual realm. And humans have messed with time so much, and this is why they start messing with daylight savings time. In actuality, we're not in the year 2018. We're actually in the year 2008 right now. So this is how much they have messed with time, and this is why people think that they're older than they really are, but they're not. There's so much to be mindful of, especially in the times that we're in right now, for the simple fact that if, like Erica was saying, if every single thing's shut down right now, let's just say there's no electricity at all, how do you know what time it is? You will be able to tell the time from the rise of the sun to the set of the sun to, like she was talking about with the sun horizon, and that's the witching hour I was telling you about, between that 3 and 6 a.m. That's when you see the sky is like this crisp white light that comes over the sky. It's the stillness in the air. It's like a breaking of the dawn. And that's when the ancients and the ancestors used to say their affirmations or say their prayers, because they believe that those are the worlds and the portals that were collapsing or closing in to shift over for the day. And whatever prayers that they had from the day before, that they can absolutely have it transcend on into another spiritual realm. It was like a pendulum, basically, to cause their dreams or their affirmations or their manifestations to come true. Oh my gosh, this information is endless. But basically, all of my teachings and every single thing that I get comes from my family bloodline, even my great grandfather, who was basically a chief, a shaman, a medicine man in the Apache tribe, and his name is Coyote, Laughing Coyote. And it was very interesting, just the information that's been passed down to me, how I'm sharing it now. And even like all of my grandmothers are natives, and even the information that they were sharing, like what Erica was talking about, where how you watch your menstrual cycle, how you be careful with, you don't leave any of your tampons in the trash at all. And then you take everything with you. You never leave any of that in anyone's house. You take it with you and you dispose of it somewhere else. And they talk about this goes into basically spiritual traditions that even came with a lot of warnings as well, that will warn you how to protect yourself, how to use your body as a pendulum, like the fast that we're on right now, the 21-day fast, how that's basically a pendulum. I'm showing you that is your body pendulum that shows you how to be mindful to protect yourself from foreign entities or foreign spirits, things of that nature. Next year, I'm going fully raw, like the channel Fully Raw Christina. I did do that before for a couple of years, but this time I'm going for good for the rest of my life. And I'm excited about the transition because I know to be in this specific space where even from my grandmothers and great grandmothers, where I've been shown how to tap in more when I take not just a plate away, but how medicine and food is used as healing for the body. And then how it was the importance of the animals, even how they teach you about the different owls and your spirit animals. So if you watch the spirit animals, or even if you see how the feathers became very popular, a lot of native sayings and statements are sayings and statements of our times. And this is basically what everything is going back to, 0 point, for us to remember and to recall the teachings of the ancestors, because the teachings of the ancestors are going to be the teaching of our times, the protection of our times. And even for those of you, I'm going to share in another day about the Exodus that is about to take place amongst the spiritual community, and how we're getting ready to go into a specific area of protection. And this specific area of protection is basically the same exact Exodus that the Indians had to go through and get ready for when there was basically the winter. It was a very cold winter where the Indians were all taken into captivity. And when they were taken into captivity, there was, I think it was White Horse was the name of the Indian. I have to get the correct name. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. But they wanted White Horse, and White Horse was taken into captivity. But once White Horse released himself, they let the entire tribe of Indians go. But when they let everyone go, they released all the women and children into the forest. And these were like all the outskirts of Chicago. Chicago is the name of a tribe from an Indian tribe from John Baptiste DuSable, who founded Chicago and was part of the Chicagos, Chicagos. That's where Chicago got its name from. But all the Indians that were released out in the middle of the weather. It was like 30 degrees below zero. And the women and the children, they froze. And the ones that didn't freeze, those are the ones that you heard about throughout history, where they did tradings with the cowboys and the Indians, and they gave them all these blankets, and the blankets had all these smallpox in them and these diseases in them, and the majority of the Indian traditions and race end up dying off. If you look around now, majority of the Indian traditions and race and cultures have died off. Some tribes don't exist at all anymore. Some do exist. And the way that you used to see Indians around back in the day, you don't see those Indians around anymore at all. When I was a little girl in the 80s, we took a trailway bus from Florida into California. And as you were taking the bus into California, you would see all of the Indian tiki huts out in the middle of just desert land. Just all the Indians owned all that land. This is before there was the European takeover of all that land. So we're coming now back into a time where just how you used to see the Indians, but you don't see them as much anymore, there's a genocide that is happening with people of color or people who are of indigenous African descent. So pretty soon you're going to look up and you're going to see people who are of indigenous African descent. They're also going to, it's like you're going to look around, it's only going to be a couple of them that exist. And from what I've been shown, even by my ancestors, those that will exist will only be those who are basically keepers of the flame, those who are of the pure bloodline, those of the ones who have done that work, who have done that spiritual work, to be able to survive the coming days, to be able to sustain themselves with the time coming ahead. And this is what you saw in the movie The Predator. If any of you have seen the recent movie The Predator, when the Predator came in and the Predator ended up attacking the other Predator, is because the new predators that are coming in, the new predators that are here, the only ones that will survive are, like I said, they're the keepers of the flame. And then they're going to do away with the old, let's just say, indigenous African descendant system that has been breached to the point to where they are killing each other to die off. But all of these specific individuals had calls in their life. Everyone had a calling on their life to do that inner work and to help do that work so much on themselves so where they can turn around and use that, what they have learned to help heal themselves, to help heal the planet. And because they didn't do that, this is why you see in the movie The Predator, where the predator comes in to kill the other predator, which is a lower vibration of the predators, the predators. And it's a purging, it's a cleansing that's happening on the planet. So, and then I know so many of you will see even the children, like, well, how do the children get involved in this? You know, the children are innocent. Well, the children are part of the family's bloodline, and even to hold on to the children is still a part of that bloodline. And even though the child looks very innocent, the child still holds specific genes in it that if there was not a purification that transpired and took place, that child would still grow up with still holding on to the sins of its forefathers. And I know it sounds cruel and mean, but if you kind of remember the biblical texts and scriptures where Lot, wife turned to stone because she looked back, but what was happening when she looked back was that the city was being burned and purified and purged because of the toxicity that has happened in the spirits and the souls and the lives and the bodies of everyone who basically, was going to hurt, harm, and not just injure themselves, but injure the entire planet. So this is why it's so important for those of you to pay close attention, even like I was saying with the animals and consumption of the animals. Seek your angels and your guides regarding, what your specific diet is, what they want you to do. They will give you all individual instructions, what it is that you want to do. I know there was a while that they completely took me into eating fully raw, like the fully raw Christina. I have my own live food catering business, which is called New Meals. And I changed the name and it switched up around a little bit. But if you go on my Facebook page, you will see the page where I share some of my recipes on there. But they have me going right back into that again to open right back up my fully raw restaurant, because it's not only fully raw, but it's going to be used for holistic medicines, holistic healings. And that's absolutely how we all used to eat anyways. No one used to cook their food at all. This is way before we had stoves and knives and pots and pans and things of that nature to have death, cook the life out of our food, which is causing death and poisoning to the body. And then also we respected the animals because we knew that we walk one with the planet. So this is why you see all the constellations on the natal chart, because all of the animals are friends. The same thing with what you see in the indigenous cultures, where you see the different African, not just African, but native, or it doesn't matter what the culture is. As you can see, there is a genocide of even specific animals or specific species that you don't see anymore that are coming extinct, just like the dinosaur became extinct, and just like different eagles or does are becoming extinct, or many don't even know, but the bat is actually the smallest animal on the planet, the most intelligent species on the planet. And I think it's very interesting too, because look at the bat, how the bat hangs upside down. And when you hang upside down, that causes a blood rush even to your head. If you do research on it on your own, I won't get into it here, but do research on your own to where hanging upside down on your head or standing on your head once a day for a couple minutes, what it does with the rush of the brain, how it resets the body. But look at how the bat hangs upside down. The bat is also in darkness. The bat is also doing what? Meditating all day, every day. The bat is so tapped into the spiritual world. The bat is all knowing, all seeing. It's very highly sacred, highly intelligent. But in the coming times ahead, the coming days ahead, even the animals will walk amongst us once again, and the animals will either harm you and attack you if they smell blood within your system, or they will protect you from anyone that's trying to hurt, harm, and injure you if they know that your vibration is just like theirs, and they know that you're one of the sacred ones of the planet, because you have a mark, and it's not just a mark on your forehead, it's a mark in your spirit. And if your spirit is weighed on that feather like Mayat and Anubis, and you're able to not just walk through the underworld, but the inner world and the outer world, that means that you are one with the planet. You are vibrating not just at 144,000, but you are the vibration of the planet, which means that the animals will, it's just imagine, for example, Lion King. So just imagine like all the animals all over the world just literally walking with you. And I don't care how dangerous you were told that this animal was, rattlesnakes, cobras, it doesn't matter, big giant grizzly bears and foxes, and it doesn't matter. They know who you are based off of your spirit, based off of your vibration. And we are absolutely coming into a time again to where that's going to coexist. We are going to coexist again with the animals. So it's just a matter of respect, and it's a matter of absorbing the knowledge and taking in what we can take in, but at the same time honoring the star system. And even if you see in the biblical text where the three wise men, they would look up towards the North Star, they would look to see which way they should go. They would watch, how the sun set, which direction did the sun set in. They would know this, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. And that's how they would use it as their map to even get around the planet. And we're going to go back into those times. And if you take a stick, you want to know which way the sun is rising, or you want to know which way is north, east, west, and south, and you're lost and you're just out in the middle of the forest, take a stick, find a stick, stick it in the ground, wait until the sun rises. As the sun rises, you will see the stick point the shadow in the direction of the either north direction or the east direction, depending on which way the sun rises. As the sun rises, it's going to point that shadow stick. Now, as it points the shadow stick, you will know whether you're facing east or whether you're facing west. And then from there, you can travel in the direction that you're supposed to go in. So that's another way the natives would use, the earth to as a pendulum, or even that's how the cowboys would travel. The buffalo soldiers is another part of the cowboys. My great-great-grandfather is Major Taylor of the Buffalo Soldiers, of the Iron Riders. And if you look all over, not just Chicago, but if you look at the trails, there's biking trails all the way in the UK. It's called Major Taylor Trails. That's my great-great-grandfather's biking trails. The trails were named after my great-great-grandfather. He was a professional, not just cowboy, but he ended up riding bicycles to where he would use these bicycles to transport supplies for the United States Army from Lolo, Montana to St. Louis, Missouri. And he taught the Army, he taught the United States Army how to transport everything via bicycle. So they start giving him opportunities to ride in not just races, but how to transport. And then they start naming trails after him all over the world. And because he was native and because he was indigenous, they would beat him and kick him and spit at him and torment him and torture him just so he would not cross that finish line first. And Queen Elizabeth, that's another thing too I'll talk about later, how Queen Elizabeth has lasted from life cycle to life cycles, because she's one of the old ancient ancestral aunts of the Dracon star system. And Queen Elizabeth, if you look back, even from your great-great-grandparents' generation, she never dies. She never dies off. So she came to Chicago and said thanks to my great-great-grandfather for, just what he's done in tradition, just what he's done in time. And my great-great-grandfather was granted land through a military script act by President Ulysses Grant. And my family was granted over 1,190 acres of land all throughout the United States, not for him being indigenous, but because they used his work hours because they would not give indigenous money back during that time for transporting work in the U.S. military. They gave them land. So his land accumulated, and as his land accumulated, it was signed off to be given to his family and his family estate forever by President Ulysses Grant. And I had my spiritual awakening. When I had my spiritual awakening, my great-great-grandfather kept coming to me in a dream. Different prophecies and prophets kept coming to me and telling me about my great-great-grandfather and the land that was in our family. And literally, behold, before you knew it, my great-great-grandfather had me step up and stand up and move directly to the place where I was to claim the land. And my whole entire awakening just began from there. And literally, like never before, I just began to work with my ancestors. I began to tap more into my native traditions. I began to tap more into my spirituality. But one thing that I noticed that they do have me watch more than anything is the stars. Watch the stars. The stars will tell you what's happening, what's happening in time, what's happening with the alignment, how you can tell if there's going to be something very serious or sacred that's about to go down on the planet, based off of how the planets are aligned, based off of how the stars are aligned, and also based off of your diet. Your diet can be used as a pendulum to where it's you can feel it. You can feel when something's coming. You can feel when something's about to happen. And that's when you go into that meditative state or that meditative mode even more. And you say, okay, ancestors, I'm listening. What's going to happen? And they'll begin to give you the dreams, and they'll begin to give you the visions, and you'll have the dreams and the visions that your grandmothers and great-great-grandfathers had. And even now, even more, remember the biblical text and the ancient text told you that your sons and your daughters will dream dreams and have visions. And then even the Christ said that there will be those that will come that will do greater works than me. So here it is. We're right now in these times to where all of us have literally stepped into our calling. So I would be very mindful for each and every one of you. Don't think that it's strange if all of a sudden you feel like you're floating, or you find yourself levitating, or you find yourself having these big dreams and visions all of a sudden. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly fine. You're 100% gifted. And that means that your whole entire body clock, your membrane of your ancestor bloodline is being activated. Why? Because that's your birthright. So it was very important what Erica brought up here today. And trust me, anytime you talk about anything native, that's very spiritual, which means that she's definitely in divine alignment with the times, with what's happening, what is going on, and especially to bring a message as such from the sacred realms is very honorable. So thank you very much, Erica. Well, everyone, I rambled over, but we will have another session tonight, and we'll meet back on here at same bat channel, same bat time, everyone. Have a beautiful day, everyone.